Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. JACALYN. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. JACALYN at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. We're so happy to have you wherever you are joining us from in the world. Today's show is What's Trending. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. I'm the president, founder, and chief listening officer here at our network. Let's welcome the star of our show, CATHY FULTON, who's always on top of what's trending. Today, we're going to be talking about what you need to know as a small business owner. We are so thrilled to have our special guest who's backstage, but first, let's bring out Cathy.
Hey there. Good morning.
Hi. Nice to see you again. We just did Aging Gracefully with Humor.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
And I'm so excited to do this show with you, Cathy, because you're always bringing people from various industries who are experts in their field. And I feel like this show is really for everyone, because you never know what the topic's going to be. And today's topic is really relevant for all small business owners and even business leaders, people thinking about going into business. What are your thoughts about it as a multiple business owner yourself?
Yeah. Well, yeah, multiple small businesses. No, I can't wait for us to talk to our guest today, because I think he's going to be able to give a lot of people insight as to how they can manage and maneuver their business, particularly with all of the rising costs. Inflation is sky high, just everything that's going on in the economy in this world. And, I know that a lot of people are still having difficulty getting employees. And so I can't wait to hear what he has to say about that. I've got a ton of questions for him. So can't wait to start this conversation.
Wonderful. Cathy, just for our audience who's new to the show, maybe this is the first time that they're tuning in, tell us about the businesses that you have so that people can understand that you really are very diverse. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah. So one of the businesses that I've had in place for 22 years is I own an interior design firm. And so the basis of what we do for people is we create beautiful spaces that people love to live in. And then fast forward a couple of years, or I guess rewind now, back in 2014, I started a home care agency for the elderly so that they could age in place and remain independent as long as possible. So those are just two of the things that I do.
You say it, so yeah, just two things I do that are pretty special. Well, let's bring out our guest. I think our guest he's had so many opportunities in his career to be sort of like a sponge, taking in all kinds of information, C-level positions, as well as many other leadership positions. And now he's working with individuals who have small businesses, people who are interested in leadership for success. And I'm excited to bring him out too, because we talk backstage about the fact that as business owners, we wear multiple hats. And I feel like my head is about to fall off and break because I have so many hats on. And that also is something that hinders us from growing our business. And I think the other thing we're going to talk about today as well is the fact that as you start your business, you should also have a plan for how you're going to sell your business, what's going to happen with your business, what's your exit strategy. So without further ado, joining us from the Virginia metro area, we have Kendley Davenport. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Dr. JACALYN and Cathy. I look forward to the conversation this morning.
Great.
Thank you. I do too. Thanks for being here. So, I mentioned a little bit about your background that you've had many different roles in leadership positions, C-level positions. What would you say are some of the key takeaways from those roles that you've brought into what you're doing today to help others?
Well, thanks for asking that question, Dr. Jacqueline. My takeaway is most important thing is surrounding yourself with really excellent leaders around you. As a small business owner, you oftentimes surround yourself with people you're most familiar with, people that you are friends with, maybe even extended family, if not direct family. And that's okay. Nothing's wrong with that. But I think what I've taken away in all my experiences in private equity in growing and scaling businesses, as well as my corporate world, is when you surround yourself with excellent people that have leadership capacity, you have a real chance of success no matter what the economy's doing. Many firms thrive in recessionary economies. Many firms thrive in COVID. And they did so because they had great leadership around them.
Wow, great answer. Really good answer. I think, and then we'll go over to Kathy. I think also sometimes as business owners, we are not actually leading. Sometimes we're actually following all of the trends, so to speak, of what we think we should be doing. But when we work with an expert like you, I think our eyes are opened to where maybe we're missing the boat. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a very good observation. I believe the way I like to determine or illustrate it is entrepreneurs or business owners are typically extremely bright, intelligent. They're visionaries, as I like to call them. They have lots of ideas and they really want to tackle them. And how they built their business is chasing those dreams and ideas very aggressively. But as they start getting a little larger and a little bigger, it starts becoming more complicated. And sometimes what they recognize, and what really strong entrepreneur leaders recognize, is the fact that they don't have all the skills necessary to scale a business. That what they're really good at is some aspect of their business, and some of the details behind growing and scaling a business they don't even like to do. And because they don't like to do them, they're not good at it. And even sometimes they might be a little good at it, they don't like it, so they don't put as much effort on it. They like to go back and focus on the things they like. And that often gets in their way. I see this all the time in small businesses. And the minute they sort of find some trusted advisors and have a good leadership team around them, they can let go of certain aspects of their business. They thrive and do a whole lot better.
Great answer. Thank you. Kathy?
So one of the things that I'm wondering if other small business owners such as myself, if they struggle with this, because quite frankly, this is one of the things that I struggle with, is I just have felt like over the years, no matter who I hire, no matter what I pay them, whether it's been maybe not enough, in terms of, not underpaying them, but, not, whether it's a lot of money or maybe not, it's a broad spectrum. Okay. A lot of times I have just felt like this is just a job. They're really not invested. I am very invested because because my business is so customer service oriented. Both of my businesses are. And if I don't get back to people, everything is very, very sensitive in the system and in the process as to what I do. And for the people that I hire, if they don't get back to people in a timely manner, my clients will walk, and I can't I have never wanted to, I don't want to lose people. Nobody wants to lose a client. And I have just always said, like when the other shoe drops, it's like, okay, so another case in point, unless it's affecting their bank account, then it's really hard to make somebody care, because they're going to get a paycheck regardless of whether client A stays or leaves. You see? And so that's been a frustration for me. And I think that, quite frankly, over the years, what you just said, I think that has probably held me back. And, but that I can't get off dead center with that. And I think that there's probably a lot of people out there that struggle with that thought, because I mean, in this climate economy, you just can't afford to have people walk out the door.
That's so true, Kathy. First off, there's a battle for talent out there, as they say. There's a lot more jobs available than there are people to take them at the moment, and that's because we've had a big shift. We were having a shift prior to COVID, and COVID certainly accelerated it, and now we're in a little bit of a new mindset. But really, to go back to your question and your thought pattern is, what you're experiencing is true for most small businesses that I've experienced. And what my takeaway is, oftentimes what's causing this is the company has not really established what I call strong, proven, and repeatable processes. They have a system in place, but it's ad hoc. Nothing's written down. They don't really focus on their best practices. They might often think they're doing that, and in some cases they are following certain routines that are considered best practices, but the business is much more complicated than that. And most employees, not entrepreneurs, but most employees want direction. They want to know what good looks like. They want to know how to get to good, and they want the resources to get there. And so good leaders make sure that they illustrate what good performance looks like. They have the employees agree to that performance, and then, or what it looks like, and then they create the tasks that move them in that direction. Proven and repeatable processes that are about behaviors, they're about actual business requirements, aren't personal. And so it makes it easier for employees to comprehend it. It's not about them personally. It's about the work that they're doing and how they're doing it. It also allows you to make it more coachable for them and use failure and when you're off track, being able to illustrate that in a positive, nurturing way so the employee sees the benefit of helping the business grow. And then you tie all that to transparency. In my mind, I believe that small businesses also lack a lot of transparency with their employees. And if you can create more transparency so the employee can see what's in it for them, whether it be more time off, maybe it be additional pay in the future, better benefits, whatever it might be, then it helps connect why they're there, what the mission is, and how their part of the role is impacting the overall business.
Thank you for that. Question that I have is the title of our show today is Survival Skills. And when I think about what you just mentioned about processes, I have so many processes here and they're not documented. They're not written down because I don't have the time to get out of the business to go and do that. So I know sort of as like the eagle flying over the business, these are certain things I need to do. But when in the life of a business do you actually say, okay, I've got to take a step back and do these strategic things, and in addition to the tactical things like documenting processes?
Yeah, I think you should. If you're of any size and you really have a desire to aggressively grow, or at least grow year over year at a fair rate. In this economy, Dr. JACALYN, if you're not growing 20%, you're behind. Many companies have really taken advantage of the last 5 to 10 years and have really been growing aggressively. And I oftentimes go in and see businesses that are growing 3 or 4% a year, and they're sort of reasonably comfortable with that. If that's a lifestyle that particular owner and ownership group likes and wants, and it's stable for them, I guess that's okay. But I tend to work in businesses that have bigger ambitions. They want to grow at a little bit faster clip. So if you're thinking about what we said earlier in the opening of the show, design your business for selling it. Well, in order to maximize your multiple of selling it, you need to have what we call proven and repeatable processes. So a future owner will see that when they invest in their business, that despite you leaving the business, they're going to be very successful. They can build on that proven and repeatable process. And that's what private equity pays for. That's when people buy businesses that are non-lifestyle oriented, when people are investing to grow and get their money back, that's what they're looking for. Proven and repeatable processes, great leadership that's already at the company. So when the owner either takes a step back or departs the business survives very well without them. And that's what building the proven and repeatable processes helps a business do, is reduces their reliance on any one individual to drive the business. And great businesses are about a group of individuals driving the business and not any one person.
That's really helpful. Thank you.
So may I ask you this? You mentioned one word just as a second ago, and it was transparency. Okay. So, all right, here's like a hypothetical. All right. So say you own a company and you've got your employees and someone's out there selling, someone's implementing, you have several different departments. Okay. And so then I guess my question is this. Would it be your suggestion that you provide transparency to your employees over like the amount of sales projected in a year, or not projected, but that have been brought in? Because so this has been another, maybe it's like too close to home, but so anytime I've shared and been transparent with people that I've worked with, and tried to explain to them, how this can benefit them and how we're going to, move down a better path for them that includes them. Quite frankly, I'm almost shocked because they're like, well, so you've got all that money and I should get a bigger piece of it. And I mean, that's really, without going into a long dialogue, I'm just wondering, do other people experience that? If in fact that's what you were referring to as far as transparency, because it's like people, they just look from they're not, they're not the business owner. It's like, okay, but you don't understand all the overhead expenses. You don't understand all the payroll expenses. You don't understand like everything. I have a whole sea of things that I have to pay for. So this business is as to where you're involved, and I really appreciate your participation. It's not all about you. And I don't know. Do other people have that?
Everyone experience. You are so typical. Sorry to say, Kathy.
No, that's good.
You are so typical of business ownership, particularly on small business ownership. I'm certainly in transparency, not suggesting that the business owner lays their books out and tells all their secrets and go tell their employees we're going to sell the company. I'm not saying that level of transparency, but the larger you get, the more transparent you must become. So I do believe it's sort of a prisoner's dilemma. The more I have found in just my practice and experience, the more transparent you can be, the better you will be. If you're attracting employees that are nickel and diming every part of the decision, when you're letting them into the process of decision making, you're collaborating with them, you're educating them, and they don't see it, they're the wrong employee. Because they're not willing to, they see that they're all about them. And so part of what I try to do in my practice is create the leadership capacity where we engage everyone. Everyone's part of the process and they know certain aspects of the business that are critical. I think it's very important that you're sharing what your vision of the business is, what your economic goals are, how you're trending against them and how they play a role towards them. And just because there's $1 million or $5 million at the top line, along the way, you have to educate them on some of the real cost associated with delivering your product. Remember, you all have a variable cost in a portion of your delivery. So every customer who buys something, it's not free to you. There's a cost associated. Even if you're an engineering firm and it's a lot of intellectual property, meaning your skill set, but you have lots of computer systems, you have support processes, you have big printing machines that put out, all types of scaled models and things of that nature, all cost money. You have travel costs, you have survey costs, soil sampling costs. The list goes on. And employees need to understand portions of that and get an appreciation for the overall cost of the business. I'm certainly not suggesting that you share every bit of the books and what everybody makes and that type of stuff. There's certainly something to be said for that. But I've also worked in businesses as a sideline that actually is very transparent and shows every bit of that. And so that they believe is a part of how they retain great employees. They get the best employees because employees feel like they're part of it. They're not feeling like they're on the outside. they have a vested interest in its growth. And that's what I've seen work.
Wow.
Thank you so much. Question I have for you. I retired from corporate in 2020, and I worked for an employee-owned company, and they were very transparent. In fact, they were all about transparency. So we got to see the numbers every Monday morning. Yay, with those sales meetings. So my question is, we were also in the employee recognition business, and I'm wondering, as small business owners, whether you have one employee or however many, should we have some type of practice where we reward and recognize our employees, our associates? And if so, what is the moment that we actually should start doing that?
I believe recognition is very, very vital, and it should be ongoing. It shouldn't be just, oh, I need to do something this quarter. It should be an intentional part of your culture. And the really good companies, as they build their culture of who they are as a business, how they think about it, employee recognition is generally a big part of it. And so, to me, employee recognition happens rather ongoing. It should happen depending on the size of your business at a department level. If you're a big enough company, you have 50, 60 employees, and you have several different departments. Certainly each department, literally weekly or monthly, should be finding ways to recognize employees. And this is not always monetarily. This is not always about money. It's about recognition for realizing and living the core values of the company. Exceeding a customer's expectation, going above and beyond to help your coworker. There's so many things that have to be thought about, and that's what I try to help companies think about and help their leaders think about, of the hundreds of different ways they can think about this. And great leaders, this is part of their DNA, and it becomes part of who they are, and they're always looking for the good. You know, in business, we spend most of our time trying to deal with problems. You know, we have issues and we're trying to solve them, and that's acceptable. That's what we have to do as a business. But I've always tried to work and try to help our companies think about the balance of that. If I'm going to spend some tough days and hours working an issue out and trying to figure out its root cause and how we can prevent it and make it go away forever, I've also got to spend some time thinking about how my employees are impacting the success of the business, not just with my clients, but with us internally. And lunches, all types of just have an afternoon off, whatever it might be, can be very rewarding to people. People don't really look for money. Everyone says money's important, and it is, but it's not the number one mindset for most people. It's the work environment. It's how they're treated. It's, are they heard? Can they go do a charity work on a day, or can they work from home half a day this week because they need to for whatever reason? All of these things are recognition, and you need to build it in your culture so that they see it as being rewarded.
Absolutely. Yes, you could have gone on those sales calls with me. So, and to your point, it's not always about money. I know in some cases it is, but people want to hear thank you, or I appreciate you, or nice work. And that's something that is priceless. It doesn't cost anything, and yet it's priceless.
One of the things I did, Dr. JACALYN, in my corporate world before I started my own business, trying to help people, smaller businesses, when I was in that larger realm, and I served as either a president or a CEO or COO of an organization, I tried to make it my priority. And I learned this from a mentor of mine many, many years ago. I tried to make it a simple priority that every day I wrote 2 personal handwritten notes, one to an employee and thanking them for something they did in the business, and one to a customer, thanking them for their business or for trusting our business. And so I was fortunate during that part of my career. I had pretty large employee base and a pretty large customer base. So it was pretty easy to find that. So, you know, I woke up every day, and on my desk when I walked in every morning are 2 notes. It's really the first thing I tried to do every day. I didn't always do it every day, I admit. I failed sometimes, but my goal was two notes a day. If you think about that, that's 20 days of work a week. And if you count 5 working days, it's quite a lot of impact you're having on people.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So can I ask you, why? Okay, so I listen to the news a lot, all right? And maybe that's to my detriment. But the number that I keep hearing over and over again is that there are 11 million jobs available. Is that even remotely accurate, do you believe?
From what I hear the same news you are, and it fluctuates, but there's a lot of jobs, and unfortunately, there's a lot of jobs that are either highly skilled, and so we don't have enough people in those skill sectors. An example might be school teachers. Major shortage in school teachers today. They have stopped coming to the profession, and we can see sort of why if you pay attention to the news. They feel disenchanted. They're not respected by their boards, by their educators, by their parents. And so they go, for the amount of money I make, if I'm a math teacher, I can go into private industry and make more money. And so why would I want to expose myself to that? I'm just using one industry, and I'm not on my soapbox about teachers, but it's lots of other skilled jobs that we just don't have enough people for. And that's contributing to the process. Then you have the other end. The economy has shifted. People are finding other ways to work. Even corporate executives, a great example, is one of the biggest trends in corporate America today, particularly mid-sized businesses and smaller businesses, is what we call fractional leadership. And that's what I do. Hiring someone with a high level of experience to come work in your business on a part-time basis, but have a high degree of influence and control or partnership with that business, and drive the proven and repeatable processes forward. And so what you're getting is, a very highly skilled, back in the corporate world, highly paid employee that's had success help you do the same thing on a fractional basis. And that's a very, very big trend. So there's a lot of corporate executives now who are not going back to work from this pandemic and saying, I can work for 3 companies, half a day a week, 2 days a week, and make more money and have a lot more, or the same money, and have a lot more flexibility, a lot more intriguing work to do, as opposed to just being in that corporate grind every day at the same company doing what, a repetitive, almost sometimes repetitive work.
Right. Well, and so, but, and that all makes perfect sense. What about the restaurants? Why won't people come work there? Because it just, like in my own neighborhood, there was somebody put on Facebook that our beloved, and I won't say the name, but they're only able to do takeout orders because they don't have any staff. And it's like, that is just so, it's heartbreaking. I feel horrible for them.
Yeah, I don't think I'm an expert and know the real answer to your question, but my business sense tells me that because of the pandemic, things have shifted considerably, and people who were maybe bartenders or they were maybe had been doing wait staff jobs, etc., have found the opportunity to do other types of work because there have been a lot more jobs available. So they've gone and got into more traditional careers. And that has really shifted, I think, the food and beverage, the whole hospitality industry in general. If you go into a lot of restaurants, and it's frustrating to go up to the door if you don't have a reservation, and you look around and see all these empty tables, but they say they can't seat you for 30 minutes. And you go, wow, why not? Well, a lot of times it has to do with staffing. And it's all sometimes not about the front part of the house, the front of the house staffing. It's often the back of the house staffing. They only have so many line cooks. They only have so many folks. So they could only produce so many meals so fast, and they already know this. So they're better off not having you come in and sit around and wait a long time, which would be even more detrimental to your experience. And so you walk away with a really negative feeling. So they're better off just to say they can't take you. And that's what they're doing. But to really answer your question, I'm not really sure that I just think it's been a major shift, and the money has gone up in other areas, and so people have chased those other job opportunities.
Do you work with any restaurant owners that are going, Kendley, how am I going to get people to come work for me?
I do not work with. What's interesting is I have a tremendous restaurant background. In my days in corporate America, I was part of a multinational, international company that managed restaurants. So I have a clue a little bit about this industry, but I work with business to business clients in my leadership practice. So I don't spend a lot of time talking to owners of restaurants other than the friends that I might have in the industry. And they're just basically saying what you're saying. They can't find the staff because people have shifted and gone to other places. And there's also been a movement of people. If you think about New York, so many people have left the city. Same in Chicago. So many people have left the city because of the pandemic. They're just not coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And so now all of a sudden there's a big void in the cities because everyone's left and they're just not returning. Wall Street's having a really big issue because all of their analysts and stuff moved out of the city for the pandemic and none of them want to come back. So the big investment banking firms are having to learn to really just work remotely and not do it any other way. If you think of what you're seeing in the news, some of the biggest banks are having, they're struggling with this work remote, come to the office balance that's going on. And what's interesting, if I may add, if you look at some of the high tech companies, I've read some stuff in Harvard Business Review and other places where they believe that innovation is suffering because innovation is created people to people. It's not done over Zoom as effectively as it was done in the office, so to speak. So they've really struggled with how to create aggressive, fast, evolving innovation because it's just hard to do remotely. Once you have the ideas, it can be developed remotely pretty easily, but the creation of those ideas are usually done in group settings and odd times. It's not necessarily planned. It's people interacting together, trying to solve different issues that new ideas emerge.
Thank you so much. You gave us a lot of great insights there. I want to go back to the work that you actually do today. And so if we are a small business owner and we're looking to grow, we're looking to expand, we want to sell the business, we don't have all of the accounting, marketing, public relations, on and on and on. How is it that you come in and work with us and help us grow?
Dr. JACALYN, thank you for that question. What I try to help organizations do is build leadership capacity through creating proven and repeatable processes. And I do that really three primary ways. The first way is I can be a fractional head of sales and just focus on the growth side of your business and help make your organization's growth engine stronger by coaching and developing the people that are doing it and making sure you have a great plan and strategy in place that's proven and repeatable so that sales grow faster. The second way is I can act as a fractional COO and help companies implement what they call the EOS system or the Entrepreneurial Operating System. This is a process that organizations and companies go through that helps them create transparency, create people in the right roles and the right seats in the organization, builds leadership capacity, builds process in place for governing the business, but then holds people accountable. And it does so in a pleasant and organized way. It's not heavy-handed. It's very collaborative and very, very part of everyone being a part of it. And it's a big trend in North America. Many companies are doing it. Private equity firms, when they invest in companies, are demanding systems like this get put into place. And so I'm helping companies do that. And then thirdly is really through what I call leadership mentoring and using behavioral science and leadership techniques to build teams, to help people understand more about how to work together, and how to also think about how to communicate and act with their customers. So building leadership capacity. So oftentimes I'll work with companies that have good leaders in place, but the owner doesn't know how to teach them how to be a better, more effective leader. Because that's really the key. I think Kathy said it earlier. If people don't feel valued in the organization, if you don't have a good process in place, you're going to have a hard time keeping talent. You're going to have a big, what we call churn of employees. And that is very bad for a business. And great businesses don't have that. Yes, you have some turnover. It always happens. But really good businesses have a very manageable turnover rate. And they are invested in their employees. They double down on their people. They do things to help them get better and grow. That's what employees are looking for. They're looking for that opportunity for that. And that's why they stay. Small businesses need to act on this. It's not about the cheapest. It's really about investing in them. And, in this recessionary time, those companies that are doubling down on enhancing employee skills and those types of things, having a real budget that they try to monitor and manage so that everyone knows what the process is ones that are going to come out a little bit better.
Thank you very much. I have a follow-up question for you, which I'm just going to actually make it about the businesses that I'm running. So some place that I struggle is in terms of managing / producing for this television channel, and then the leadership. And so I feel sometimes I get stuck that I have information I want to share with team members, and I can do it in a constructive way, but people are not necessarily open to the information. So then I don't share the information. So I feel like it stagnates the team from growing. So what could you share to help me and maybe others who are going through something similar, even though it's in a different industry?
I feel for you, Dr. JACALYN, because conflict is the hardest thing that leaders face, and particularly small business owners face. And learning how to effectively provide feedback and constructive processes, that goes back to having a great process in place that makes it non personal. It helps people understand that it's really about the business moving forward and always getting better, having a mindset that every day, whatever we do in our business, we can get a little bit better, and being open to that. What does that mean? And having a place where they can get the feedback. And so that's what I try to create when I go in, is helping business owners avoid having to deal with a lot of conflict. I oftentimes get hired just almost for that reason, so that I can come in and help organize a lot of things that a business owner just doesn't want to deal with, because it's just better. They're afraid if they jump on somebody or what have you, that they're going to leave, or they're going to go and do more harm to the business. And I think there's where a combination of transparency, a combination of effective leadership ideas and processes in place allow to minimize this. It doesn't mean that every now and then you have to have a courageous conversation, or you have to have a hard conversation with an employee who's not on the right seat on the bus, who is not effective in their role, and there's no other role in your organization for them. That what they love to do, what they have passion for, doesn't fit what their jobs are in your company. So they have to depart. And sometimes they can see that on their own, and sometimes you have to help them. But unfortunately, and I'm not proud of this, but I do have some experiences where when I helped an employee realize that they were on the wrong seat on the bus and there was no other seat in our organization for them, oftentimes when they left, they actually went out and thrived, because they now got on the right seat on a bus in another company for which they were good at, they had passion for, they enjoyed the work. Frankly, when they were with my company, they were in a role that they truly didn't have passion and joy for. So it made it hard for them to be successful.
That's really helpful. Thank you. And I think also that there are times when we're part of a team and we're just showing up, punching the clock, so to speak. We hate what we're doing, and then we drag the team down, but yet we don't want to leave the paycheck. We're terrified of letting go. And it sounds like you're someone who's really great in handling situations like that as well. Whereas a business owner, and maybe Kathy's going to disagree with me, I don't know, but as a business owner, instead of being direct and saying, having conversations, say, listen, Joe, it doesn't seem to be working out here, or, it's better for you and for us if we part ways. That sometimes that's difficult, especially for me.
I learned from another mentor. Her name was Lorna Donatone, and I worked with for many years, that brutal honesty and employee guidance is critical. And I remember early in my career, I would often not tell people things that I was really thinking, and examples that came to mind that illustrated that created my thinking. And I learned through her that you have to be brutally honest, and you can do this with pride. And if you have a system in place, if you have a culture in place where good feedback is happening on a regular basis, there's a good conversation about what good looks like, I call it, that there's a meeting of the minds, that you're on the same page. You have the same ambition, you have the same goal set, you've agreed on what that is, and good managers get out of the way of that if employees want to go run with it. But when they're not running with it, you have to be able to have a governing system that comes back and says, hey, what's going on? How do I assist you? How do I help you? It's all about the behavior. It's not about the person, and illustrate the behavior. And usually it either corrects itself, or people sort of get it and move on. And occasionally it doesn't. And that, again, means wrong fit. And you have to figure out what the right fit for them is, or move on. And this is a problem of small business. They don't have time to keep recruiting people, and sometimes they just settle. And I certainly feel like when I go into companies, it's my mantra to fire them up, as they say, and not fire them. I believe that everyone comes with great talents. My job is to figure out what they are for that person put them in the right seat on the bus of that company, and hopefully they help the company move forward.
Excellent. I have one last question. I'll go over to Kathy. What does that engagement process look like to hire you and to bring you in?
Pretty simple. Month to month, it's a small monthly fee where I come in and help you on a part-time basis. We determine how much time that's associated. I don't have an hourly rate. It's just a fee. Depends on if you take me for half a day, a whole day, or more. I have some clients that have me for 2 days a week. I have some clients that have me for half a day a week, and I have some clients that have me for 3 or 4 hours a week. So I'm flexible. It really depends on what we're trying to achieve. And if I can't be the person, I'm oftentimes not the right fit for some companies. I might have in my network, I probably have some folks that can help them. But that's what it looks like. It's just us figuring out what you're trying to accomplish and how I can assist it. But my goal is to partner with you and with the business owner and their team, get them engaged, collaborate. As I say on my website, it's about collaboration. And, it's about innovation, it's about execution, and it's about mentoring. It's about those 4 things is how we think about it. So it starts with good collaboration. What does good look like? Clarify what that collaboration is about, and how do we innovate with what we're doing? How can we do what we're doing a little bit better? How can we disrupt the value we're offering to our customers to make them see more value in what you do for them? And then execute against it. Having a great plan of execution. I see lots of big business, but also small business that have a strategy. It's a pretty well thought out strategy, but they execute very poorly. And they actually think the strategy is what was wrong. No, it's actually the execution that was wrong. It's not the strategy. That strategy was perfectly right. And this oftentimes happens in business. Even in large organizations, they have a big strategy they don't execute well on.
I love how you've made it easy to work with you, and that you're very flexible, and it just depends on what the scenario is. So I think that sounds like a great fit for probably most businesses. Kathy?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. We talked about, or we touched on, I guess, conflict. Now, so I'm just wondering, because I know other small business owners, and one of the things that can really, I don't know, not destroy, but just really have a major impact is, so you have a good employee, but they are almost divisive in the conversations that they start, and just the, because I don't operate like that at all. I'm not if I have an issue, you will see me front and center. I don't go and talk to 10 people about it, and then I don't operate that way. And so I have a hard time processing, well, she said and he said, and then so and so said, and then it's like then I don't hear any of it, because I'm like, I don't really care what any of you are thinking right now. That's how I get to. But so I'm wondering, have you had a lot of experience with addressing the inner chaos and conflict?
Well, that's really why I get brought in oftentimes. We have to get the emotion out of it, the drama out of the business. Yes, there's going to be a little bit of it. We have to remove it as much as possible. But Kathy, I believe it starts with core values. What are the core values you want your company and you to represent? And have you written them down, and have you defined them clearly? And then do you have all the employees adhere to those core values? Do you hire for those core values? When I go into companies, one of the things I find is a weakness is they think they know what their core values are, but they haven't really defined them for people. And so that's one of the first exercises I like to do, is just figure out what your core values are. And now that we know what they are, now let's evaluate each person on the team, and do they live these core values? And if they do, great. And if they don't, let's have a conversation about why they need to live these core values. And oftentimes companies build core values with the whole team. It's just not the owner going, this is what it is. It's what does a team want, in terms of their core values. That's what I often find mismatch. And oftentimes people don't want to live those core values. And over time, if they're not willing to and understand the purpose and the intent of those core values, they sort of are the wrong people on the team. A lot of companies today start the interview process with a core values test. Now, when I say a test, it's not a written test, but they're asking behavioral questions to understand, do you believe and practice the core values that we want our company to do? And that's where they start. Then they move to, do you have the skills, and do you have the capacity? to do the work. But if you don't meet the core values, you never get in the door. And so the greatest companies, the most successful companies are approaching it this way, because that way they're aligning themselves with the people like themselves in terms of their value system. And I find that really works. And you can transform small businesses with this. It doesn't take a long time. It's not a 10-year process. It's a fairly quick process to go through. Good exercise for people.
Thank you so much. Can you please share your contact information for people who want to reach out and hire you, work with you, get to know you, network with you?
Yeah, I can be found on the web. I have a website. It's www.leadership with the letter 4 success, and it's .co, not .com. So so many .coms out there. I chose to go with a .co. But it's Leadership for Success. Or they can reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. I can be found at Kendley Davenport on LinkedIn, and they can also just directly call me. My number's on my website, etc. And we can have a short conversation to learn about what you're going through in your business and how I can either help you or point you in a direction for which you can gain the kind of help that you need. I'm willing to. I want to see businesses succeed. I'm about leadership. You'll see my Boy Scouting stuff on the wall behind me and that type of thing. It's all about the foundation of being a great leader. And I think that's what separates companies, is how they build leadership capacity.
Thank you so much. I just want to note, I think on the banner you typed leadershipforsuccess.com, and you're saying it's CO?
I am. So there's a typo on my own part.
I'm going to retype it. Okay. Leadershipforsuccess.co.
Yeah. I get so excited, I guess, sometimes, and I even make the mistake myself.
Okay. Well, we've got it corrected now. So thank you so much for a very informative interview. I really learned a lot. I'm going to take away a number of things from this. So, Kathy, last comments from you.
No, Kendley, this was so informative. And you really shed a lot of light on things that have been going through my head and just what I hear from my friends that have other small businesses. And I know that this will be very beneficial to a lot of people. I hope a lot of people will call you as a result. I'm sure you're very busy, but I think that you can help a lot of us out there. So,
well, I appreciate your kind comments, and thank you for having me. I look forward to maybe another opportunity on another subject sometime in our future.
Yes, absolutely. We'd love for you to come back.
Yeah, please book in on the business show as well, because I know you bring a lot of value to the business owners we have watching and listening to that program.
Excellent. Well, again, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
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 There's so much that we don't know. And that's what I love about this platform, about the education that we learn ourselves as well as everybody else who's out there watching and listening. So thank you again, Kathy, for another fabulous interview, another fabulous guest.
Well, I've just had the great good fortune of, through the networking, then someone will say, hey, what about this person? And it's just all the networking. And so, yeah, he gave some great information, great perspective to this whole small business arena. So I'm so thrilled that he agreed to come on the show.
I am too. And Kathy, as you know, your Talking Heads show is coming up right after this. So please let our audience know what it is you'll be presenting on today.
Well, we're going to be talking about decorating the kids' bathrooms. And a lot of people get stuck in that because it seems like most of the items out there are it's more of an adult theme. But we're going to have a lot of fun with this, and a lot of ideas, and some that will take your kids from possibly elementary school till the time that they leave the house. And so anyway, stick around, stay tuned.
And Kathy, how can people reach out to you, and who would you like to contact you?
So if you're looking for help with any interior or exterior project, I would love the opportunity to work with you. If you'd like to have a conversation, please feel free to call me. And that number is 703-895-3798. And if you would like to take a look at any of my work, I can be found on the website, and it's CATHY FULTON InteriorDesign.com.
All right, Kathy Fulton, thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you over in the other studio momentarily.
Thank you.
Thank
See you
you.
soon.
Bye for now. And thank you to each and every one in our audience today, whether you're watching or listening on the live or the replay. We do appreciate you. We have a special opportunity coming up September 18th. If you've ever been a guest on any of our shows, we have a reunion show, which is a live event. We'll be live streaming for 6 hours. I will be co-hosting with Mr. Al Cini. If you haven't met Al yet, please go over to LinkedIn. It's ALCINI. And you can be one of our presenters. You'll have 15 minutes to promote about your business, your brand, your book, your film, your song, your art, your charity, your event. So please go over to our website, usaglobaltv.com, and just go across the top to book your session. And that's the same place to go for any and all of our shows. We have about 29 shows a week now, or 30, I've lost track. But we're just happy to have you here with us today. Thanks again. We'll be right back with Talking Heads.